Okay, well, meantime, here's a very interesting announcement coming in from the Godrej Group. The group has now entered the financial space. It now is going to launch Godrej Housing Finance, and with the launch of the housing finance company, the group aims to build a long-term, sustainable retail financial services business. They are in fact aiming for a balance sheet of 10,000 crore rupees. Let's bring on board then the management to talk about this launch. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in today on the show. So to start with, what prompted you to get into the housing finance space? Share with us the rationale for this decision.
It's great to be with you, and we're very excited at Goldridge to be launching our entry into financial services through housing finance company called Godrej Housing Finance. Our decision to enter this space and to specifically focus initially on the housing finance space was led by a few things. I think firstly, we see the space itself as a very large one and one that offers a lot of opportunities. From a risk perspective, we think that housing finance is probably the most secure part of the lending universe, given that it's backed by a very real asset. We also had quite a lot of insights from our experience through Goldridge Properties from a developer perspective, and have a few thoughts on how best to offer flexibility to customers and offer the right package alongside a developer to a customer. So we hope those learnings will help us scale this business. But I think that combination of a great opportunity, a good placement within that opportunity, given our experience in Godrej Properties, and of course the advantages the Goldridge brand offers us in terms of its ability to access customers and low-cost capital, all of which contributed to our decision to enter this space.
Okay. How do you view this competitive landscape in the housing finance sector? Because banks are obviously offering very low interest rates. We have also seen consolidation within the NBFC space as well. So how do you wish to grow your presence in this very competitive scenario? What will be the differentiating factor for Godrej Housing Finance?
Yes, I think the competitive landscape is very interesting. On the one hand, as you rightly pointed out, some of the strongest financial institutions in the country, some of the leading banks, are paying a lot of attention to housing finance at the moment. On the other hand, this part of the financial services sector has been driven to a considerable extent by NBFCs over the last few years, and there have been, given recent events in that sector, a lot of challenges, a lot of players who had significant market share now exiting that market. So I think it's an industry that is in flux. There is quite a lot of dislocation, and those are moments that typically lend themselves to opportunities for new players to come in and get some market share, and that's very much what we hope to do. Certainly, we will have to compete with leading institutions who are very competitive cost of capital given their ability to take deposits. We're happy to say that we're launching the business with home loans starting at 6.69%, which we believe is the lowest rate offered currently in India by any housing finance player. And we hope to use that as a launching pad and do our best, given our insights into the real estate sector, to scale this business and gain some market share in the years ahead.
How much investment are you planning to make in Godrej Housing Finance, and how will it be done? How much, will the parent sort of pump into Godrej Housing?
We expect to initially fund this business entirely through equity capital from the Godrej Group's balance sheet, and we expect the initial funding requirements for the first 3 years to be somewhere in the range of 1,000 to 1,500 crore. And as I said, we expect to fund that entirely ourselves. I think at that stage, we will evaluate 3 years down the line whether it makes sense to put in more capital from the group or whether to look at any kind of external source of equity capital. And I think, we haven't really gotten that far yet, but certainly the initial investment will be entirely made through the group's balance sheet.
Okay. The pandemic has resulted, of course, in increased awareness for own homes. Where does the bulk of the demand come from, and is affordable housing going to be, a focus area for you?
I think over the years, we expect to have a broad-based business that covers a lot of different segments. To start with, we're focusing on the top metro cities in the country, which are Mumbai, NCR, Bangalore, and Pune. We're going to be starting with a strategic partnership with Godrej Properties and offering loans for the first few months to customers of Godrej Properties across these 4 markets. We've seen, as you rightly pointed out, that the pandemic has actually dramatically increased customers' intent for home ownership, given people's increased preference for the security that offers. And one of the advantages that customers have at the moment is that the cost of financing a home is at decadal lows. So I think overall interest rates are at the lowest levels they've been in India in many, many years. And I think that dramatically enhances affordability and counteracts some of the nervousness people might be facing due to job insecurity and the like. So we do think that while the residential property sector has gone through a down cycle now for the last 7 or so years, we do think some green shoots are starting to become visible, and the affordability because of low interest rates and flat property prices over a long period is at quite interesting levels. So we do expect to see benefits from that in Godrej Housing Finance as well.
Okay, can you take us through, your loan book, your revenue targets that you've set for the next few years, and what's your overall outlook for the company's growth?
As a group, we believe in only entering businesses with a very long-term perspective. So this is not a business that we're seeing as a short-term or tactical opportunity. We hope to have this become another pillar of the group's growth over the next several decades. I think that we're obviously just launching this week, so the initial targets are just that, very preliminary. But we'd like to see a loan book size in the first 3 years of about 10,000 crore, and maybe over the first 6 or 7 years, taking that to about 30,000 crore.
Okay, thank you so much for joining in, and we wish you all the very best for your foray into housing finance. That's, of course, the management speaking on how essentially, business could look like and what it would look like, for this new, this new foray.